Hello and welcome to Make 100 Games. This is video number 6 in my series about building a kart racer in the style of Mario Kart. In our previous video, we trained an AI to drive laps around our track. In this video, we will take a look at a few ways we can get some animated characters into our game. Specifically, we will first take the character currently sitting in our kart and customize him to look like an alien. We'll then take a look at what you need to do to animate a 3D model that you got from somewhere else. In some cases, the model you get may not be optimal for animation, so I'll show you what you can do in that situation as well. All right, let's dive in. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I would like to take this character that's sitting in our kart and customize him. So let's first go ahead and find where this character model is located in our project. So to do that, there are a couple different ways. We can click on our player here. We can scroll down here to this animator and we can click on it. And we can click on this here. We can click here on the avatar. Here we are. This is the kind of base mesh of the character. So we can go ahead and just find this in Finder. And we're not going to actually change it right here. We're just going to copy it out to somewhere else where we can then modify it. So then we don't mess with the original. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this to somewhere else. The thing about this character model is that it's not just defined in one single FBX file, but it basically consists of a couple of different FBX files that contain the various animations. So in order to find those, we're going to have to click on the character again, and we're going to go back down to the animator. Right here, and this time we're going to go into the player controller and we're going to have a look at what animations are actually used. So if we go to the driving state, we have this, or actually if we just start with the jump state here, we have this jump animation which is inside this file here. So let's go ahead and find this in Finder, copy this over to our other location, and let's check the driving state here, and this consists of a blend tree. So let's double click that and we can see the individual animations that are used. So let's find the turn left. That one is in here in this player left FBX file. Let's reveal that one, copy it over. And we see the rest here. We have player jump, which we just copied earlier, and we have player idle. Just before we finish here, let's just go back to our blend tree one more time and just make sure that we have everything. So we have left, right. These are both part of this player left FBX file, and we have idle. And we have jump from before. So we should have everything here in this folder. We have the base player FBX file, the idle file, the jump, and the left. So basically we have an FBX file that contains the character mesh as well as the armature. And then we have a bunch of animation files that essentially just contain the animations along with the armature. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So we're going to go ahead and open Blender and we're going to import this player file. So with Blender open, let's get rid of this cube here and let's head on over to import and select FBX. Let's go to our model here. We're going to take the player FBX, and it's pretty important to make sure that we select the correct options over here. So let's just scroll through here. So this can kind of be left at the default. We don't want to apply the transform right now. We want to expand this animation section here. We actually don't really need an animation. I don't think there is one in there. What's important here is the armature. We want to ignore the leaf bones and we want to have automatic bone orientation. And I think that just about does it. So we're going to import this. And here we have our character. And if we actually just go ahead and look at this transparent mode, we can also see the bones here, the armature, and we actually see it here as well on the right. So we can actually go to pose mode here, select this guy over here, go to the viewport display and select in front, and we can see all the bones. We see that we have a nice little skeleton going here. So this is all good. I actually don't really want to mess with this. We're going to go back to object mode, close this back up. And what I actually now, and we can get rid of this. We don't need to see these bones. We're going to go back to our player. We're going to now just do a small edit. We want to make this look a little different, not all too different, but we're basically just going to try to make this look like an alien. So we're going to hit the edit mode here. So expand this here, select our mesh, hit edit, go to face mode, and we're just going to go ahead and select the head. Okay, so with everything selected, we're just going to stretch this a little bit in the Z direction. So scale it in Z and just make it a bit bigger, kind of like an alien. And we're going to just move it up a little bit. So this is already looking a bit more alien-like. And that's actually going to be the extent of our customization here. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to cut some seams here or place some seams so that we can paint this. Let's just cut out the face. which would be somewhere like this here. Mark the seam. Okay, and that's actually really the most important part. We don't really care too much about the rest, but I did notice that if I try to UV unwrap this guy, we get some errors. And we also notice that we do have the face here, but we don't have anything else here, and that's a bit weird. So let me just try and fix this guy up a little bit. Okay, so I fixed up my guy here. I added a seam here above the shoulder here, and now everything is UV mapped. Again, I really only care about the face here. The rest, it can be as distorted as it wants, because in the end, I'm just going to paint this guy pretty much one color, probably green, and just draw something on the face. So let's just bring all the stuff that isn't the face. Bring the face here to the side. Make everything else small. Doesn't need to take up a lot of texture space. It's anyway going to be one color. And bring the face back and scale that up. Okay, let me just make sure that the top is also the top. That's pretty good here. Okay, so with that all set and done, what we can now do is we can, actually first we're going to export this UV layout. Call it alien. Before we export, we're just going to make sure that we apply all transforms. And now let's go ahead and export him and go to export FBX. Select empty armature mesh. Under transform, make sure that we have apply transform. Under geometry, make sure we have apply modifiers. Under armature, do not add leaf bones. And we don't need an animation right now. And then we're just going to name it alien FBX. I think that's actually pretty good. Export. And we're going to create a new file. And now we're going to import the other animation files. So we're going to go ahead and hit import FBX. Let's take player idle. Make sure we do not apply transform. Under animation, we can leave everything as is. Make sure we hit automatic bone orientation and ignore leaf bones. Import. And we basically just do kind of like an import-export loop here. So we're going to hit export right away. We're going to name this alien idle. We're going to export the empty armature mesh. We're going to do apply transform under geometry, apply modifiers, under armature, deselect add leaf bones, and under animation, select everything and hit export. We're now going to do the same thing for the other animations. So that was idle. We're going to take jump. Make sure that we don't select apply transform on import. On animation, we leave everything checked here. On armature, we do automatic bone orientation and ignore leaf bones. And we export again. Call this one alien jump. Everything's good here. Apply transform. Apply modifiers. Armature. Add leaf bones. No. Bake animation. Everything. Yes. Export. Create a new file, import, find our player left. That should be the last one here. Do not apply transform, check the animation, automatic orientation and ignore leaf bones, and import and export. And this is going to be alien left, empty, armature mesh, apply. Modifiers, this is good as well. Armature. We do not want to add leaf bones, and animation, everything's checked. And the reason why we have to do this kind of import-export business here is because, at least when I did this in the beginning, if you just import and export the main mesh and change the geometry, and you bring that back into Unity, there is some misalignment between the various FBX files, and some of the bones are different, or something is different, and you will get a kind of mangled-looking character animation. And so this kind of import-export makes sure that everything is aligned. Now with this done, we can go back to Unity, so we can close Blender here, and let's bring this character in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our assets folder, in our models, we're going to now drag in these models. So let's find our alien idle, alien jump, alien lift, and alien FBX. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our alien FBX base file, we're going to expand this. We're going to go here to the rig tab. We're going to select humanoid, and we're going to create the avatar definition from this model here and hit apply. And as soon as you do that, we see a avatar, and we're gonna need this in order to link up the other animations with this mesh. So the avatar is basically kind of like Unity's representation of your rig, of your bones, of your mesh's bones, and it allows you can share this avatar definition between different FBX files so that you can kind of have the animations in one set of files and the mesh in another. So let's go ahead now and take the idle animation here. We're also going to select humanoid, but this time we're going to say copy from other avatar, and we're going to drag this avatar in here and hit apply. And if we now, there might be a warning, which I think is fine for this exercise here. We can go ahead and have a look at the message if we are interested in resolving it, but I think for this exercise, it's actually okay. If we now go to the animation tab, we should see some sort of animation here. We can also play it, so we see the animation is working, and we can see our stretched egg-shaped head, and we can actually rename this animation from something other than root one take yada yada to idle, and scroll all the way down, hit apply, and if we now expand this, we see here the idle animation. We're going to do the same thing for the other models here. We're going to select humanoid, copy, and drag this in here and hit apply. Just a sanity check here. Check the animation. This is the jump animation. So let's rename it to jump, apply it, and go to player left. This is where it gets a bit more interesting. We're going to again do humanoid, copy, drag the avatar in, apply, and we're going to go over here now. And we see now the turning left animation. So this will be turn left. And now the question is, of course, where are we going to get the turn right animation from? And the turn right animation is actually just the mirror of the turn left animation. And the cool thing about the humanoid rig here is that what you can do is you can create a new animation, call it turn right, and you can actually just select a little box here called mirror, and this one will now look the same as the other one, just in the other direction. And as far as I know, this is only possible with the humanoid rig. If you have a generic animation type, this will not work. And in order for you to be able to use this humanoid animation type, you have to have a very specific arrangement and setup of your bones. Otherwise, Unity will not recognize it as such, and you will not then be able to benefit from things like this mirroring. I think you can actually validate here. If we go here, there's this configure menu, and then in here you see this humanoid thing, and it checks whether it's mostly okay. So I mean, I think there's toes and stuff are missing, but for the most part, it's pretty okay, and it seems to map just fine and be happy with this. So with our models all set up, what we can now do is we can drag the model into our scene, and we can replace the mesh that's in here in the cart with our new mesh. So let's go ahead and drag our alien in. We're gonna now basically drag him into the cart. And if we now check the player idle here and check our alien, we're just going to also set him to 0. And we see now that he's placed pretty much right where the cart is. What we need to do now is we can go to the Kart Classic player here. And first thing that we need to do is we need to actually create a character animator that will animate this mesh. We can do that by going in here and selecting the animator, which will actually highlight it here. And then we can select the character controller, and just like with the mesh, what we can do here is we can just make a copy of this so that we don't mess with the original. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to copy it. We're just going to go ahead and go to our assets folder and make a new folder called animation, paste that in here, and we now have it in here. We can open this up, and we're going to edit this animation controller to use and reference the animations that we defined for our mesh. So for player jump, we're going to go ahead and find our model. We're going to find the jump animation, which is here, and we're just going to drag it in here. For driving, we're going to go into the blend tree. Then for turn left, we're going to take turn left. For idle, we're going to take idle. And for turn right, we're going to take turn right. And now our animation controller is complete. And with that, we can go back to our alien. We can now assign this animation controller to the alien. And now, as a kind of final step, we need to go into our cart. Well, first of all, we can hide this one. Let's go back to our scene. We can just, for now, hide this one. And we can go into our Kart player and we can now reference our alien avatar here. So here we're still referencing this player idle. We're now going to reference our alien instead. And now if we run the game, we should be able to see our animated alien. And here we go. What we didn't do, of course, is we didn't paint this yet, so we can just jump into Krita real quick and paint the alien. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's insert our UV layout, and let's just create a nice filler for our alien. Let's give him a nice green color. Give this guy some eyes. Hide the overlay here, and let's export this. Let's jump back into Unity, go to our textures folder, and drag this texture in. Nothing special here. We're going to go ahead and create a material for our alien. Drag the map in there. And let's drag this onto our character here. Okay, and we see him. We see his eyes. Let's also make sure that we don't have any problems with the decal. There we go. Here is our alien. Let's go ahead and have a look. Here he is, our customized alien character that we customized by taking the assets straight from the template here. Okay, next thing I want to show you is what can you do if you get an asset from somewhere else? How can you rig it up and bring it into the game? So let me jump back into Blender and let's import an asset. So let's go ahead and take this guy here, import him in. Nice looking squirrel. I did not make this myself. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add a armature to this guy so that we can add a skeleton. So with this guy selected, we can hit add armature. And you can actually see in the background it added a bone here. And if we want to see more, we can again go to this menu here, go to viewport display, and now it makes sense to actually have this in the front. And with the armature selected, we can actually just move this down a bit here. Maybe also move our squirrel back a little bit, just so that the bone is nice and centered. Go back to our armature, move it up a little bit. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to hit edit mode, and we're going to extrude bones. So hit E to extrude, and we're just going to extrude bones. Okay, probably not a perfect skeleton, but okay, I guess. Now what we need to do is we need to basically tell Blender to associate this skeleton with this mesh so that the mesh can be deformed when we move the bones. And to do this, we're going to select the mesh. Just as a kind of a best practice, what you should do before you do any of this is, of course, get out of edit mode here, select your mesh, Control A, and apply all transforms. And the other thing, hit edit mode in the mesh, select everything, and merge any vertices kind of by distance, just to remove any duplicates. And in this case, a lot of them were removed. And if you don't do this, then the parenting of the mesh to the armature will not work. Now that we did this, let's go ahead and select our mesh, and then Command click on Mac, and then on Mac Command P, I believe in Windows Control P, to open the parent menu, and then select with automatic weights. And as soon as you do this, you see this little icon that appears. And now what you should be able to do is you should go into the armature, change to pose mode, and select rotate here, select the bone, and rotate, and your mesh should deform. So this is good here. We are able to animate or move our character. So now that we have this, it is time to animate this guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the animation tab here. And let's actually, before we do this, before we animate him, he's in T-pose right now, which means he has his arms stretched out like this. We're going to bring his arms into kind of like the driving position where he's holding the steering wheel. So with the armature selected, let's go back to pose mode and select the shoulder here and just start bringing these arms to the front to where the steering wheel is. Roughly about here. Do the same in the other side. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so I'd say that's all right. That's roughly where the steering wheel is. Now with this said and done, let's head over to the animation tab and select everything, all the bones. Basically with the 0th frame selected, hit I to insert a keyframe, and we're gonna select location, rotation, and scale of all the bones at position 0. So kind of like our reset position or our neutral position. And what we want to animate here is basically we're just going to animate the turning left and right. So we're just going to have this squirrel lean to the left and right a little bit when we turn. So let's say we're going to move to frame 60 here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to lean this guy over a little bit. So we're going to rotate him here around the x-axis. Oh, that's, I guess, the head. I probably should have added additional bones, so we're just going to take this bone here and try it like this, rotate around X, just to lean him a little bit. No, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, just to have him tilt a little bit here. That's already enough. Select everything, hit I for keyframe, record it. And now if we go back, we see him leaning. And now frame 120, let's bring him back again. Roughly here. And frame 80, let's bring him to the other side. So here's our animation to go to the left, come back, and to go right. Okay, so with that all said and done, let's go ahead and export this guy. So hit FBX. And first, what we're going to do is we're also going to just kind of create a base file here. So we're going to take the empty armature, the mesh. We're going to apply transform, apply modifiers. We do not want to add leaf bones. And we can have everything in one file, actually. We don't need to have separate files, so we can also bake the animation in there. And let's just go ahead and export here. And we're going to jump back into Unity now. Let's go back to our models folder. Let's close this up here, just have a bit of room. Let's bring our squirrel in. Let's expand this guy. And in this case, it's not going to be a humanoid rig here because we just kind of freestyled the bones. Yeah, we don't have all the necessary bones that you need to have in order to qualify for the humanoid category here. So we're just going to do generic and create an avatar from this model. Hit apply. And we're going to go to the animation tab, and we have a couple of animations here. As we know, we have the turn left animation, and I believe it is from 0 to 60. So let's go ahead and see here. It's a bit difficult to see. So that's turn left. It's a bit slow, but it's all right. Let's create another animation, turn right, and I believe that one is from 120 to 180. Okay, and let's apply this. Now let's do the same thing that we did before. We're going to go ahead and drag the squirrel out onto our scene. Bring him up here. Create another controller for the squirrel. So we're going to go in here. We're going to copy this one here. Just to keep things a bit simpler, I don't want to mess with the name of this controller. So we're just going to go ahead and create another folder here. Just for demonstration purposes here, just keep this a bit simpler. Paste it in there. And this is the one that will reference everything from the squirrel. So let's jump to the jump. We're not going to have a jump, so we're just going to reference our squirrels. I forgot one animation, actually. We need an idle animation. The idle animation we can just define in Unity. Let's jump back over to our model. We're just going to do an idle one that doesn't have any real duration here. Essentially, we're not going to have an idle, so we're going to go back to our squirrel animation controller, and we're not going to have a jump. We're just going to reference the idle animation. Expand this here. Open up the blend tree. For turn left, we will take turn left. Turn right, we're going to take turn right. For idle, we're going to take idle. So with that all said and done, let's replace our alien with the squirrel. So let's make this guy invisible. Take our squirrel, drag him in here. Also zero him out. Okay, probably didn't apply one of the rotations. 270. Okay, he's a bit too far down. Bring him up a little bit here. Okay, and now we're going to assign the animation controller. And we're going to go to the Kart visual here. Sorry, not the Kart visual, the Kart player. Scroll down here and replace our alien with a squirrel. And last but not least, we are going to make sure that the decal does not interfere. And let's give this one a try. Let's see if this works as well. Okay, it works, but the animations are switched. So let me go ahead and fix that. So my left animation is actually my right animation. So let me go jump in to my squirrel. Turn left is actually 120 to 180. And turn right is 0 to 60. Okay, let's give this one a go. And here we go. We have an animating squirrel that we rigged ourselves. It's kind of subtle, but you can see him leaning. Okay, so that's that. So the final thing I want to show you is what happens if you have a model that doesn't lend itself very well to animation. So let's go ahead and create a new file, or actually let me open a file. I already prepared one here for us. This one here. So it's also a squirrel. I already added bones to it, and now the step would be to parent this to the armature. I already applied all transforms and I removed all the duplicate vertices. So I kind of did my due diligence here. So let's go ahead and try the parenting and see what happens. So it is parented. Select the armature, hit pose mode, select the bone, and rotate. And it's not really working. My bone is moving, but my arm is not moving. The mesh isn't moving. So this can happen if you have a mesh with bad topology, for instance. And apart from applying the transforms and removing duplicate vertices, another kind of nuclear option that you can have if you just really can't work with this mesh is to basically remesh it. So we're going to undo the parenting and we're going to select our squirrel. We're going to go over to the sculpting section here. And there is an option here called remesh all the way over here. And we're going to go ahead and select this here. And you can, of course, change these values for the sake of this video. I'm not going to touch this right now. It will look very bad afterwards, but it's just to show you that this is an option. You can tweak these parameters, of course, so that the mesh doesn't look quite as rough afterwards. But just for this demonstration, I will keep everything as is and hit remesh. And now you basically see kind of a very low poly version of the mesh, but the topology is cleaned up. I mean, of course, this right here is not acceptable, but again, just for the sake of this demonstration, this is okay. Let's go ahead and take our mesh and go back to the layout mode here. Grab our mesh, grab our armature, parent. And if we now select our armature, go to pose mode, select the bone, and move it, it works. Yeah, so at least now our mesh deforms when we move our bones. Of course, the way this looks is not acceptable, but that's just because I just left the parameters as they were. You can, of course, increase the number of voxels that Blender uses to approximate your mesh to get a better result here. And of course, a downside is that you lose a lot of these loop cuts that you might have had before. So cutting up your mesh for UV layouting and for painting will be a bit more challenging, but it is doable. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this. The rest of the steps to bring this into Blender and everything are into Unity rather are the same. Okay, so there we have it. We managed to create a customized animated character in our kart racer. I wanted to cover a couple different ways that you can approach this because depending on the kind of racer you are building and what kind of template you are building on, it may be enough to just tweak whatever is already available in your template. Or maybe you received a model from an animator or generated one and you just want to add a few simple animations. Or maybe you have made a model that does not have great topology and does not lend itself well to animation. In any case, I hope you now have a few tools at your disposal with which you can pursue your animation goals. In next week's video, we will put the finishing touches on our game by adding some coins that will spawn around the track. So be sure to subscribe and check back next week. Thanks for watching.